And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan, and this is your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on Saturday, September 21st, 2024, and this outlook will be for Sunday into Monday. And as we start out, though, on this Saturday, we have an area of low pressure here over the northeastern Gulf. That feature will be weakening, a secondary impulse of moisture coming on up in across the southern panhandle late this Saturday night into the pre-dawn hours of Sunday morning. But conditions should begin to improve across the panhandle along the Gulf Coast here during the day Sunday. But already another weather system will be quickly following in its place. Low pressure will be passing just along the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, heading up to just south and east of Kodiak Island and pushing up into the western Gulf, and then pull back to just off the Kenai coast as we get into Monday morning. Sunday morning up to the north, we still have some areas of snow, especially within the Brooks Range. A winter storm warning for 6 to as much as 12 inches of wet snow is in effect until 4 a.m. Sunday morning for the central Brooks Range in the vicinity of Adigan and Anatuvik passes. They've already received several inches of snow in that area through this Saturday morning. And we expect IFR conditions to prevail there along the spine of the Brooks Range, North Slope, Eastern Arctic Coast Sunday morning. And again, areas of IFR there, eastern Aleutians, tip of the Alaska Peninsula, and then the intercoastal mountains there, British Columbia in through the Panhandle. For Sunday afternoon, widespread MVFR conditions, Panhandle, Gulf. I wouldn't be surprised to see, at least in updates, there could be some areas of more substantial IFR again in place. Also the winds, this low pressure coming up into the western Gulf Sunday evening and Sunday night. We'll have gale force winds, especially easterly flow here into Lower Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, around Kodiak Island. There'll be some pretty brisk easterly winds that 40 knot gales with some higher gust and through the gaps. Now, by Monday morning, as the low pressure works its way up here to just off the Kenai coast, there's the potential for some flashes of lightning, rumbles of thunder over areas of the northern central Gulf associated with the frontal system near the low center itself. IFR conditions expected, intercoastal mountains of the Panhandle, central southern Panhandle, Petersburg down through Klawak, Craig, Metlakatla to Hyder. In the far north, still we have along and north of the Brooks Range into areas of the North Slope, IFR conditions with the lower ceilings and perhaps even a few pockets of lingering light snow or flurries. And then Monday afternoon, with the low center in this position, we find the potential for some flashes of lightning, rumbles of thunder here, northeastern Gulf Coast, back toward the central Gulf. IFR conditions anticipated in the mountains, the northeastern Gulf Coast, up through the northern Panhandle and along the British Columbia border. And still in the far north, we have IFR conditions, Kaktovik, Dead Horse, down across the eastern North Slope and along the spine of the Brooks Range. Widespread IFR conditions along the Alaska Range, though VFR anticipated Monday afternoon here along the lower, especially middle Yukon Valley, and then areas of south central, the lower arm of the Alaska Range. So conditions for the passes coming up for Sunday, IFR conditions in the bulk of Anatuvik Pass and to the north. As you go fly south, MVFR. Same thing for Adigan Pass. North entrance in the heart of the pass, IFR. Though the snow, the accumulating snow should diminish by Sunday morning. And then MVFR conditions as you fly south. Lake Clark and Merrill start out VFR, but with that moisture coming in from that next system, the front as it lifts eastward along the western portion of the Gulf, we'll see MVFR conditions roll in for the afternoon, Lake Clark and Merrill. In addition, some precipitation likely. Same thing, Rainy Pass, VFR becoming MVFR with the easterly upslope flow. And then Windy Pass should generally hold on to VFR conditions on Sunday. Isabel Pass generally VFR, though on the north side of the Alaska Range there could be some MVFR conditions there as you pop up along the north entrance. Mentasta Pass, MVFR conditions becoming VFR on Sunday. And as we drop down toward Tanita, VFR conditions should hold through much of the day, though by evening or very late afternoon or early evening, MVFR conditions arrive. Portage, VFR becoming MVFR in the afternoon. That'll happen a little sooner because of the frontal system that'll be entering into the southwestern Gulf, and that'll be the lead of some of the lower cloud cover as it starts to move in. Then Chilkoot and White on Sunday, we'll see IFR conditions in the morning giving way to MVFR conditions, and for the most part, the precipitation will temporarily let up over the Panhandle on Sunday, but no sooner the next front comes in, more rain will overspread the Panhandle Sunday night and continue into Monday. So by Sunday morning, we find the surface freezing line near the Bering Strait coming all the way down onto the west side of the Alaska Range into the southwest interior. You see some temperatures at or below freezing, certainly across much of the central northern interior and any of the mountainous areas in the south, extending into northwest Canada. Of note, though, as the low pressure works its way northeastward up into the western Gulf, we have that pull of warmer air aloft ahead of the cold front, and with the warm front working its way northeastward, we find freezing levels 8, 10, 12,000 feet down in the North Pacific. That'll get pinched off or occluded, but at least we'll likely see some moderation in the temperature, the freezing levels aloft creeping upwards as that system advances northeastward. Now, the greatest threat for icing will be along the frontal system, an area of low pressure, along the northern Gulf and along the coastline above 6,000 feet as you encounter some thicker cloud cover and precipitation-bearing clouds. You may have some moderate icing above 6,000 feet. As you go further south in the warmer air toward the North Pacific above 10,000 feet, and then back here toward the Alaska Peninsula, we're looking at icing potential, moderate icing along the Alaska Peninsula above 6 and even 8,000 feet, and then just isolated areas of icing back toward the Aleutians. And what remnant moisture is kind of hanging around this area of the Brooks Range, Yukon Flats, you may find some icing there above 2,000 feet, though at least the steadier snow that's been in place since Friday should begin to wind down on Sunday. Broad trough here out over the Bering, west side of the state. We have the jet core, 165 knots there, North Pacific south of the Gulf, coming northeastward, and then we have it behind me, another jet core near 150 knots southwest of the Aleutians. And then as we get to 9,000 feet or 700 millibars, a broad belt of 50 to even 80, 90 knot winds in those mid layers with the low circulation here near and just on the south end of Kodiak Island in the mid-levels, offshore flow here across the west side of the state. So continued dry in these areas. And then on Sunday, we find here's the low pressure circulation just above the surface at 3,000 feet, just southwest of Kodiak Island to the southeast of Chiknik. This is a pretty good system. It has gale force winds around it, and as it works its way northeast, these winds will begin to weaken, but it's beginning to draw down some colder air across the north and west side of the state. Winds are still northeasterly until we get the north component as we get into Monday and Tuesday. You're going to see some cooler air come on down along the west side of the state as a result of the position of this low. And of course, with those kind of winds, we expect possibly some isolated severe turbulence there at the entrance of Cook Inlet to Kamishak Bay, Katmai area, and then down along any of the gaps or where you have some terrain in Kodiak Island, surface to 6,000 feet. Broad area of moderate turbulence from areas of Prince William Sound, the Kenai Peninsula, all along down the Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutians. Also some areas of moderate turbulence possible along the lower Yukon Delta, Nunavik Island, St. Lawrence, Matthew, and St. Paul. Could see some moderate turbulence surface to 3,000 feet on Sunday.